In the shadows of the digital world, one figure rises above the rest. Faceless, silent, deadly. What if the myth became reality? Let me tell you a story, one that starts in the depths of the internet, but ends in a way none of us could have predicted. You see, some stories are just stories. But then, there are those that creep out of our minds, take root, and become terrifyingly real. This is one of those stories. It's the true story of Slenderman. It all began innocently enough. Back in 2009, an internet forum held a Photoshop contest, asking users to create eerie images with one goal: to scare. Out of that contest came something more disturbing than anyone could have imagined. A faceless figure, impossibly tall and thin, with arms that stretched like dead branches. He wore a suit, but everything about him was wrong, like he didn't belong in our world. That figure became Slenderman. Now Slenderman wasn't just a creation. He was a feeling, a creeping unease. He was the thing you saw out of the corner of your eye, but could never quite focus on. People began adding to his legend, writing stories, creating games, and crafting videos, all to keep the myth alive. But here's the thing about myths. Sometimes they have a way of slipping into reality. Fast forward to 2014, to a small town in Wisconsin. Two 12-year-old girls, Morgan Geyser and Anissa Wire, had become obsessed with Slenderman. To them, he wasn't just a story on the internet. No, he was real as the sun setting in the sky. They believed he lived deep in the woods, in a mansion hidden from the world. But there was a price for entry, a blood sacrifice. Morgan and Anissa believed that if they killed someone, they would become proxies of Slenderman, his servants. They'd gain his protection and be allowed into his world. So, they chose their victim, another 12-year-old girl, Peyton Leutner, their friend. It was a plan they had crafted in whispers and late-night discussions, but the reality of what they were about to do was far more chilling. Gan and Anissa led Peyton to a secluded spot and, without warning, stabbed her. Not once, not twice, but 19 times. They left her for dead, believing they had done Slenderman's bidding. But here's the twist. Peyton didn't die. Somehow, through sheer willpower, she managed to crawl out of the woods, bleeding, terrified, but alive. A cyclist found her and called for help. When the police caught up with Morgan and Anissa, the girls were eerily calm. They explained their reasoning with a kind of chilling certainty. They were trying to please Slenderman. Now you might be asking yourself, how could this happen? How could two young girls believe in something so deeply that they were willing to kill for it? It's a question that haunted the town, the families, and everyone who heard about the case. The trial that followed revealed something deeply unsettling. Morgan, it turned out, suffered from schizophrenia, hearing voices that she believed were Slenderman's commands. Anissa, while not suffering from the same illness, was convinced that Slenderman would harm her family if they didn't complete the act. This wasn't just a story anymore. This was the real, horrific consequence of belief gone too far. Slenderman had become more than an internet creation. He had taken over their minds. But here's where things get even stranger. Slenderman isn't unique. He's a modern twist on an ancient fear, the faceless figure, the shadow in the woods, the thing that lurks just outside your window. From the boogeyman to the Baba Yaga, folklore is full of creatures like him. But Slenderman is different because he spread through the internet, through screens we look at every day, through the endless scroll of stories and images. He was born from fiction, but in the minds of these girls and many others, he became terrifyingly real. The Waukesha case isn't the only one. Over the years, Other children, young and impressionable, have claimed encounters with Slenderman. Some engaged in violent behavior. Others experienced emotional breakdowns. The internet is a powerful tool for imagination, but sometimes it can blur the line between what's real and what's not. Experts say Slenderman's faceless nature is part of what makes him so terrifying. He's a blank slate, a canvas on which we project our deepest fears. For Morgan and Anissa, he represented something dark and all-encompassing, a force they couldn't escape. And in a world where digital myths spread like wildfire, Slenderman became more than just a story. He became a symbol of how dangerous belief can be when untethered from reality. So, what do we take away from all this? That Slenderman is real? Of course not. He was born from fiction, from the collective imagination of people on the internet. But the power of that fiction, that's what's real. The belief in something, no matter how absurd, can drive people to do terrible things. And in this case, belief in Slenderman led two young girls to commit an act they couldn't take back. Even now, the story of Slenderman continues to haunt the internet. New videos, new stories, new sightings emerge. And while we know Slenderman isn't real in the physical sense, his presence looms large in the digital shadows. Perhaps that's the most terrifying part. Because who's to say what other stories might slip through the cracks? What other nightmares are waiting for someone to believe in them? So the next time you're online, scrolling through images, reading stories in the dark, be careful. You never know what might be lurking just out of sight. After all, some stories don't stay fiction for long. This was another unsettling story from Scary Stories to you. Subscribe and hit the bell to uncover more dark tales, if you dare.